Welcome to chapter 3, where we'll talk all about team communication and difficult conversations. All right, team collaboration. We have a fun saying in the German language. We say, Toll, ein anderer macht's. What does that mean? Great, somebody else does it. That's a play with words and the acronym of TEAM. Obviously, it's just a joke. Throw that in the trash. What are we talking about when we collaborate with people? Together, everyone achieves more. Then, obviously, doing something as an individual person. That's why it's important. This chapter doesn't matter what major you are, doesn't matter what job you're gonna do in the future. Most likely, you're gonna work with people, together with people. Just imagine, even if you have a one person lemonade stand, you're gonna have clients. These are people. Maybe have some difficult conversations with them and know how to interact. All right. Let's talk about when the teamwork fails. Think about your student group projects. Are you going down underwater like this picture? Hopefully not. Hopefully you had some good experiences. But let's talk about when do teamwork fail and why. Usually it has to do something with lack of clarity on the what. What are we talking about? That's the goals or tasks. This can be set in the forming stage when we form a team. Also, we can have a formal records in a team charter, which we're going to talk about. Or it's lack of clarity on the why. Why is the relevance? Also the mission. So maybe there's a misunderstanding. There's no shared meaning between the members. What is the actual mission? What is the relevance of this project? Why are we doing it? So we have to make sure everyone on team is on the same page. Okay? What can go wrong? You name it. You experienced it probably yourself in the past. Maybe at school, maybe at work, maybe in one of your sports activities as also a team. Think about it. Maybe you play football. You're running a certain play. There was a misunderstanding. Or people preferred a certain play for a certain reason. Okay? What can go wrong? So many things. Let's look at them one by one. Groupthink, number one. This is big in the chapter, and most likely you heard of it already. What does it mean? It's a phenomenon where people tend to confirm with group decisions to avoid feeling outcast, leading to errors in decision making. What does that mean? Let's take a look at an example from the picture when a supervisor says, hey, so do we agree on this? So he expects a verbal feedback, and everybody says in their bubbles, yes, yes, agree, yes, yes, agree. However, they may think otherwise. They may think no. They may think we're doomed. They may think the bad idea. But they say yes. They say yes for several reasons. All right. It could be they just want to go home. It's late. It's 5 p.m. It's the last meeting of the day. They're tired. They say just yes to go home. Simple as that. They could mean, they could say yes, but they actually mean no because they're too shy. They don't want to be the maverick. They don't want to speak up. They don't want to be the only outcast in the group who goes against the group. All right? That's why it says decision to avoid feeling outcast, leading to errors in decision making. So even though the boss heard yes from everyone, individual, if you will ask them individually as a third party, that's why consulting firms, consulting companies, job is sometimes to make these interviews of individual people to see what's going on in the company. If something doesn't work smoothly, you'll realize quickly, okay, they're not actually on agreement. That's groupthink. You may have heard of that before. Let's take at the symptoms of groupthink though. Symptoms is something you can observe. Think about a symptom of being sick. You can observe that, okay? Two symptoms your book talks about. First, the self-censorship. What does that mean? Self-censorship is basically when group members don't speak up and state their opinions for the sake of the harmony of the group. So they don't like conflict. They don't want to rock the boat or challenge authority. That's why the picture don't rock the boat. A euphemism for they don't want to create a disturbance inside the group. Okay? Self-censorship. They censor themselves, if you will. Second symptom, collective rationalization, meaning group members convince themselves a solution is the best one, even when facing with conflicting information. They basically explain away as a group or dismiss conflicting information. They think, oh no, it must be true. All right, that's something you could observe. That's a symptom of groupthink. Now, result of groupthink, also negative, obviously, the illusion of unanimity, fancy word to say, when you think everyone is in agreement, even though it's actually not true. All right, that's a result of groupthink, like we talked about a minute ago. Second one, illusion of invulnerability, meaning when team members, we are so overly optimistic of our ideas as a group and don't consider the risks of our ideas. We basically think as a group, because we came together to this one conclusion, hey, this must automatically be a good decision. Just for the fact that we are a group of 4 or 5 people, 10 people, and we decided something, it must be good. However, that's the risk, okay? When we're overly optimistic of our ideas, we do not consider the risks. That's an illusion. That's a result. Mistakes can happen. This has real-world consequences. Another thing the book talks about as well, groupthink. What do you think? Making decisions, you want to vote by a share of hands. You think that's a good idea? You see any issues here? You're being put on the spot. It's not unanimous. Is that a good idea? Answer is probably it depends. Depends what question was asked. Is it a low stakes question like, oh, the restaurant canceled on us, we gotta rebook the restaurant, everybody okay with Italian food today? Hands up. That's probably a good question to ask for raising your hand. However, it's something that involves a bigger stakes, something more important. Maybe not a good idea to do share of hands. Maybe it should be a survey, unanimous survey, so people can actually write or vote how they really feel. This is a real picture. It's not AI generated. This is in Switzerland, in Appenzell. Okay. Interesting enough, they still vote in the town square by hands, show of hands. So it's a cultural tradition over there. Obviously works for them since it's a smaller scale city, smaller scale town. But just interesting to see that they still vote by hands for a lot of issues. So think about it, what that means. You can see your neighbor Bob could be voting for something that you voted for, but he voted against. And that could create some friction, depending on what the issue was. How to collaborate? How can we overcome the negatives? Let's talk about some positives and tips for being more effective. First, roles and responsibilities. Oh, I thought you do it. I thought you do it. When roles and responsibilities are not set in advance and not clearly structured with responsibilities, who's doing what, can lead to problems in the group. Okay, that's why, and as an example here, you see team member, you see position, you see their responsibility. So we can be a journalistic approach and ask all these questions: what, where, who, when, why, how. And this is all in a team charter. This is basically the team charter to avoid conflicts, because we set in advance everything already together. As a group, we came and wrote down our mission, values, goals, roles, responsibilities, communication protocol. How do we communicate with each other? We set a certain standard. Meetings, when do we conduct meetings? Everything is set in advance. Decision making, who's responsible? Feedback, how does the feedback loop work? Because if any questions arise, we can always go back to that team charter. Okay, that's how working together. Another part is so important, because you can tell yourself at the beginning of the semester, you do one half of the assignment, I'll do the other half, then we'll join them together, and you will hope and think it might come out beautiful like this picture. Most likely it will look something like this. Why is that? That's when you don't meet enough times to share your current progress and work together on it. Okay? You got to find that right balance. So, convergence is when you come together and work. Okay? You're sorting those sticky notes and picking the best few, narrow down the best options. Divergence is when you individually go out, you spread out, and you toss lots of ideas on sticky notes individual. Then you come together. Okay? Divergence apart, convergence together. And teams need both. For example, if you only diverge, you got lots of ideas, but you never decide. It's going to be chaotic and lots of wasted time. If you only converge, on the other hand, you decide maybe fast, but you miss better ideas and groupthink happens. So you got to find the right balance. Here, a lot of people, maybe somebody will do the research, somebody will think about the paint, somebody will think about the brush cleaning, the life model, then you come together and work together on it. Oh, it's always a back and forth, okay? That's why in English you say, too many cooks spoil the broth. Don't just go out and everybody just does the research part. Maybe somebody will think about the paint, the life model, whatever it may be. Okay, it's always a back and forth. You have to diverge and converge. Find the right balance. And you have to meet often. Practice, practice, practice. Whatever it may be, if it's your practice presentations for this semester, your elevator pitch, if it's a group presentation especially, you should practice. You can almost call it rehearse, where you study something and practice it from start to finish over and over, like a piece of music, if you will. Practice often. This is where you realize, mistakes happen or something doesn't work well, and you can adjust things. All right? Team evolution, to finish it up, your book talks about team evolution. Team starts when you form. Obviously, you get to know each other, get to know your team members. Here, you're just focusing on getting to knowing each other, who's doing what, when, and you got a storm, second phase, when you come up with ideas. Here, a lot of friction could happen because you can have competing ideas. So you're going to diverge and converge back and forth. Think about how should we approach this the best way. Then slowly, you're norming. Slowly, you have a game plan. Slowly, you're making a team charter. And this is where productivity increases big time. At the end of the day, you're going to perform. Operate efficiently towards accomplishing its goals. Team's goals, all right? Textbook also has it this way, where you see that the productivity in the storming phase is the lowest. This is normal. This is normal. First you form, you got a storm, you have competing ideas. You maybe have some people who are very opinionated. They want their idea to come true. But you got to be open-minded. Listen to everyone, involve everyone. Then once you norm and perform, this is where the performance is the highest.